What if I told you you don't need to believe in yourself before you take action? In fact, you may have it completely backwards. Look, we often tell ourselves, I'll start when I feel more confident. I'll speak up when I feel ready. I'll make the change when I know I can do it. But here's the problem. Your brain is waiting for exactly the same thing you are: proof. Because confidence isn't something you magically discover inside yourself. It's something that your brain builds from evidence. So today I'm going to show you a simple 4-step process that you can use to start giving your brain better evidence about what you're capable of. And the best part, you can start today. Welcome to the Mindset Lab, where we turn insight into action and patterns into progress. If you're new here, I'm Coach Jose, and this channel is all about practical strategies to help you master your mindset, regulate your emotions, and create a happier, healthier, more intentional life. And today we're talking about confidence, but probably not in the way you're used to hearing about it, because we're not going to try and convince ourselves that we're confident. We're going to build evidence that we can be confident about. So let's step into the lab. Now, one of the biggest misconceptions about confidence is that it needs to come first. We think once I feel confident, I'll be able to take action. But most of the time, confidence works in exactly the opposite direction. All right, think about anything you're currently good at: driving, cooking, leading a team, playing an instrument, speaking in front of people, whatever it might be. Were you confident the very first time you did it? Probably not. You became confident because you did it. And then you did it again, and again, and again. And your brain started collecting evidence. I've handled this before. I figured that out. I made a mistake and recovered. I didn't know what I was doing at first, but I learned. See, eventually your brain reached a new conclusion. I can do this. Psychologist Albert Bandura called this self-efficacy, our belief in our ability to successfully perform a particular task. And one of the most powerful ways we develop self-efficacy is through something called mastery experiences. Now, plain English, that means successfully doing something. Now, that's why waiting for confidence can become a trap. You're waiting for the very thing that taking action helps create. So instead of trying to manufacture confidence, I'd like you to start manufacturing evidence. And we can do that with something I call the evidence loop. Now, the evidence loop has 4 simple steps: choose, act, record, repeat. So let's walk through them together. First, choose. Choose the evidence that you want to create. Ask yourself, what do I want to become better at believing about myself? Maybe you want to believe that I'm someone who takes care of my health, or I'm capable of having difficult conversations. I'm becoming a better leader. I'm disciplined. I'm creative. I'm capable of changing my life. Now, notice that I didn't say choose something you desperately want to convince yourself is true. We're not trying to trick your brain. We're choosing a direction, because now we need to give your brain some crucial, actual evidence. Step 2, act. So next, I want you to do something that supports that identity. And here's where people often make a mistake. They go way too big. Now, if you want to become healthier, you don't need to run a marathon tomorrow. Just go for a 10-minute walk. If you want to become a writer, you don't need to write a book this weekend. Just write 1 page. If you want to become more confident speaking up at work, you don't have to deliver the keynote at the next company meeting. Just contribute 1 idea during your next team discussion. If you want to become more disciplined, keep 1 small promise to yourself today. The action doesn't have to be impressive. It simply has to provide evidence, because every time you follow through, your brain gathers another data point. Step 3, record. Now, this might be the most important step because it's the one most people skip. Record the evidence. At the end of the day, ask yourself, what did I do today that supports the person I'm becoming? Write it down. Maybe it's, I went for a walk even though I didn't feel like it. Or I finally made the phone call. I spoke up in the meeting. I practiced for 15 minutes. I said no instead of automatically saying yes. I handled that conversation better than I would have 6 months ago. Why actually record it? Because your brain doesn't notice everything equally. Now, as I discussed in episode 95, confirmation bias influences the evidence that we notice. If you've spent years believing, I'm not disciplined, your brain has gotten pretty good at noticing every moment where you procrastinated, every workout you skipped, every promise that you break, every time you fall short. Now, meanwhile, it may completely ignore the dozens of times that you actually followed through. So we're not pretending that the failures didn't happen. We're simply making sure the wins don't become invisible. And step 4, repeat. So finally, we just want to repeat the process, as this is where identity begins to change, not through one enormous accomplishment, through accumulated evidence. Right? Think about it like a courtroom. One piece of evidence might not change the verdict, but eventually the evidence starts piling up. I said I would do it, and I did. I said I would do it, and I did. I said I would do it, and I did. And eventually your brain has to start reconsidering its old story. Maybe I'm not disciplined starts becoming, I'm becoming more consistent. And eventually, I'm someone who follows through. That's how small actions become identity. Not overnight, but through repetition. All right, so let's make this practical. Think about one area of your life where you wish you felt more confident. Don't choose 5, just choose 1. Now, complete these 4 statements. First, choose. I want to become someone who, fill in the blank. Maybe it takes better care of your body, speaks up for themselves, finishes what they start, handles stress more effectively, creates consistently, leads with confidence. Whatever matters to you. Now, act. Ask, what's one small action I could take today that will provide evidence of that identity? Not next month, not someday, today. And make sure to make it small enough that there's almost no excuse not to do it. Then, record. Tonight, write down, today I created evidence that, and finish the sentence. So maybe it's, today I created evidence that I'm becoming more disciplined, or today I created evidence that I can handle difficult conversations, or today I created evidence that I can take care of myself. And then finally, repeat. Tomorrow, give your brain another piece of evidence. And the day after that, another. You don't need a dramatic breakthrough. You need enough small pieces of evidence pointing in the same direction. Because eventually, your brain starts believing the pattern. So here's something I'd love for you to remember this week. Don't wait until you believe in yourself to take action. Take action until your brain has enough evidence to believe you. Confidence isn't the admission price for growth. It's often the receipt. You get it after you get paid with action. And so if today's exercise resonated with you, make sure to check out this week's full episode of the Personal Mastery and Growth podcast. In this week's episode, we take a much deeper dive into the psychology and neuroscience of confidence, why confidence often comes before confidence, why beginners sometimes overestimate their abilities, why highly successful people can still experience imposter syndrome, and how confirmation bias influences the evidence your brain notices about who you are. And if you'd like to continue putting these ideas into practice, come join me over on Substack. Each week you'll find companion articles, practical exercises, weekly challenges, and additional resources designed to help you turn insight into meaningful change. And that's where we continue the conversation beyond the podcast and the YouTube channel. All right, so if this has helped, make sure to like it, subscribe, share it with someone who might be waiting to feel confident before taking the next step. And remember, you don't have to become completely different overnight. Just give your brain one more piece of evidence today about the person that you're becoming. Because it is what it is, but it becomes what you make it. So make it great.